The glass of whiskey sat untouched on the polished bar, amber liquid catching the low light of Chicago's most exclusive underground lounge. Lee Jae-sung didn't notice the waitress approach until her hand, trembling slightly, placed a folded napkin beside his drink. "Sir," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the jazz piano in the corner. He looked up. Dark eyes met hers, brown, wide, afraid. She was black, beautiful in a way that made his breath catch, with rich mahogany skin and natural coils pulled back in a neat bun. Her server's uniform couldn't hide the exhaustion in her posture or the fear radiating from her. "Don't drink this and leave now." The napkin held those exact words, scrawled in desperate handwriting. Before she could pull away, his hand shot out, fingers wrapping around her wrist. Not rough, but firm, possessive. "Who are you?" His accented English was soft, dangerous. Her pulse hammered against his palm. "Someone who doesn't want to see you die tonight." Simone Carter had worked at the Velvet Room for exactly 3 months, 2 weeks, and 4 days. Long enough to recognize the regular patrons, long enough to know which tables tipped well and which men had wandering hands. Long enough to understand that the elegant lounge with its crystal chandeliers and leather booths was a front for something far darker. But she needed the money, desperately. Her studio apartment in Southside Chicago had a leaking ceiling and a landlord who didn't care that she worked double shifts. Her nursing school loans sat unpaid in a drawer because waitressing paid more than studying ever would. The dream of becoming a nurse felt further away each day, buried under bills and exhaustion. Still, she showed up, smiled at customers, poured expensive liquor she'd never be able to afford. Tonight felt different. Simone noticed him the moment he walked in. Impossible not to. Lee Jae-sung moved through the room like he owned it, and maybe he did. 6'3", broad shoulders filling out a crisp white shirt unbuttoned just enough to reveal smooth skin and the dark edge of a tattoo crawling up his neck. His black hair was styled back, sharp jawline set in an expression of controlled power. Korean, definitely Korean, and definitely dangerous. The other servers scattered when he passed. The bartender, Marcus, straightened immediately and poured top-shelf whiskey without being asked. Even Vincent, the manager who usually prowled the floor like a predator, disappeared into the back office. Simone kept her distance, refilling water glasses at nearby tables while tracking his movements. He took the corner booth, the one reserved for VIPs, and sat with his back to the wall, dark eyes scanning the room with the precision of someone who'd survived by noticing everything. 2 men joined him. Caucasian, expensive suits, the kind of polished criminals who hide behind legitimate businesses. They spoke in low tones, leaning across the table. She couldn't hear the conversation, but she watched their body language, the tension, the forced smiles, the way one man's hand kept drifting toward his jacket pocket. Then she saw Vincent emerge from the kitchen, carrying a fresh bottle of whiskey. Her stomach dropped. Vincent never served tables, never carried drinks. The man paid others to do his dirty work. Simone's gaze followed him as he approached the bar, watched him pour a measure of amber liquid into a crystal glass with practiced ease. Too practiced, too deliberate. His hand moved to his pocket, just for a second, and when it emerged, his fingers brushed the rim of the glass. No. Her heart hammered. She'd heard whispers about Vincent, about people who crossed him, about a server who'd quit suddenly last year and was never seen again. Lee Jae-sung was about to drink poison, and she had maybe 30 seconds to decide if she cared. The smart choice was obvious. Look away, stay silent, survive. Men like him, dangerous men with blood on their hands, they weren't her problem. She had her own struggles, her own survival to worry about, but when she looked at him again, something shifted. He sat alone now, the 2 businessmen having excused themselves. His expression had softened slightly, fingers drumming against the table in a rhythm that suggested he was thinking about something far away. For just a moment, he didn't look like a crime lord. He looked like a man carrying the weight of the world. Human. Simone's hands moved before her mind caught up. She grabbed a clean napkin from her apron, borrowed a pen from the bar, and scrawled the warning with shaking fingers. Don't drink this, and leave now. Vincent was moving toward the booth, the poisoned whiskey balanced on a tray. She had seconds. Her feet carried her across the floor, professional smile fixed in place, heart threatening to burst through her ribs. "Sir," she whispered, placing the napkin beside the untouched glass Vincent had just set down. When Lee Jae-sung looked up, the full force of his attention hit her like a physical blow. His eyes were black in the low light, sharp and assessing. The tattoo on his neck, a Korean tiger rendered in bold blackwork, seemed to move with each breath. She should walk away, right now, before Vincent noticed. But his hand caught her wrist, and suddenly leaving wasn't an option. "Who are you?" His voice was silk over steel, accented English making each word deliberate. "Someone who doesn't want to see you die tonight." His grip tightened fractionally, thumb pressing against her racing pulse. Those dark eyes searched hers, looking for deception, for motive, for anything that would explain why a waitress he'd never met would risk herself for him. "Why?" he asked, the single word heavy with suspicion. "Because—" She glanced toward the bar where Vincent was watching them, his expression unreadable but his posture tense. "Because I've seen enough death in this place." It wasn't entirely true. She'd seen violence, yes, heard things she wished she could forget, but never actual death. Still, the lie felt necessary, felt safer than admitting she'd acted on pure instinct. Lee Jae-sung followed her gaze, his expression hardening as he registered Vincent's attention. His free hand moved to the glass, lifting it as if to drink. Simone's breath caught. Then he tilted it slightly, liquid sloshing, and in one smooth motion tipped the entire contents onto the floor beneath the booth where shadows would hide the spill. "Thank you," he said quietly, his gaze returning to hers. "What's your name?" "Simone." The word slipped out before she could stop it. "Simone." He repeated it slowly, tasting each syllable. "I'm Jae-sung." "I know." Everyone knew. "You didn't work at the Velvet Room without learning the names of the powerful men who frequented it." His lips curved into something that might have been a smile. "Then you know I don't forget debts." Before she could respond, Vincent appeared beside their booth, his smile too wide, too practiced. "Mr. Lee, I hope everything is satisfactory. I see you've finished your drink already." Jae-sung released Simone's wrist slowly, deliberately, his fingers trailing across her skin in a way that sent electricity up her arm. "Perfect," he said, his tone cordial, but his eyes deadly. "Though I think I'll take a bottle to go, unopened. I'm particular about my whiskey." The threat was subtle but unmistakable. Vincent's smile tightened. "Of course." Right away. As the manager retreated, Jae-sung stood, his height and presence suddenly overwhelming in the small space. He pulled out his wallet, extracted several $100 bills and tucked them into Simone's apron pocket. "Your shift ends at 2, he asked. She nodded, unable to form words. "I'll be waiting outside." He buttoned his shirt one button higher, though the tiger tattoo still prowled across his neck. "We're not finished, Simone Carter." He knew her full name. Of course he did. Men like him knew everything. "I can't," she started. "You saved my life." His hand came up, fingers brushing her cheek so briefly she might have imagined it. "That means you're mine to protect now, whether you like it or not." Then he was gone, moving through the lounge with the same lethal grace he'd entered with, leaving Simone standing frozen beside an empty booth with her heart racing and the terrifying certainty that her life had just changed forever. The remaining hours of Simone's shift crawled by with agonizing slowness. Every time the front door opened, her pulse spiked. Every time Vincent passed her station, her stomach clenched. She replayed the moment over and over, the feel of Jae-sung's hand on her wrist, the darkness in his eyes, the casual way he'd claimed ownership of her safety. "You're mine to protect now." She should run, clock out early, slip through the kitchen exit, disappear into Chicago's nighttime streets, and never look back. Instead, she finished her tables, collected her tips, changed out of her uniform in the staff bathroom with trembling hands. At 2:03 a.m., she pushed through the front door into the October cold. A black Mercedes sat at the curb, engine purring. The back door opened before she could take 3 steps. "Get in." Jae-sung's voice carried across the empty street. Simone hesitated, her worn jacket providing little protection against the wind. Every instinct screamed danger. She knew what happened to women who got into cars with dangerous men. She'd heard the stories, seen the statistics, lived in a neighborhood where girls disappeared and no one asked questions, but he'd had opportunities to hurt her already. In the lounge, when his hand wrapped around her wrist, when he'd stood so close she could smell his cologne, something expensive and cedar dark. He could have dragged her into the shadows, could have made her disappear for interfering. Instead, he'd thanked her. She crossed to the car and slid inside. The interior smelled like leather and that same cedar scent. Jae-sung sat beside her, white shirt now properly buttoned, black suit jacket draped across his lap. His driver, another Korean man, younger, with alert eyes, pulled smoothly into traffic. "Where do you live?" Jae-sung asked. "Why?" Simone kept her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. Because I'm taking you home. I can take the bus. At 2 in the morning? Through South Side? His jaw tightened. No, she should argue. Should insist on her independence, her ability to take care of herself. But exhaustion won out. She'd been on her feet for 9 hours, her tips barely covered this week's groceries, and the thought of waiting in the cold for a bus that might not come made her bones ache. West 63rd, she said quietly. Near Halstead. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise? Concern? It vanished too quickly to identify. They drove in silence for several minutes, the city's late-night landscape sliding past the tinted windows. Simone watched him from the corner of her eye. In the car's dim interior, he looked different, less like the untouchable crime lord, and more like a man dealing with his own exhaustion. He'd loosened his collar, revealing more of the tiger tattoo that dominated his neck. The detail was incredible, each stripe rendered in bold black ink, the tiger's eyes seeming to watch her. Why? He asked finally, breaking the silence. Why what? Why did you warn me? His gaze fixed on her, intense and searching. You don't know me. You owe me nothing, and you put yourself at considerable risk. Simone turned to face him fully. Would you have let someone drink poison? If it served my interests? Yes. The honesty should have frightened her. Instead, it felt strangely refreshing. No pretense, no false morality. Then we're different, she said. I couldn't watch you die. Even if you are, she gestured vaguely at him, at the expensive car, at the world he represented. A criminal? His lips curved. You can say it. I won't be offended. Dangerous, she corrected. You're dangerous. Yes. No denial. No justification. Just acknowledgement. Which is why you should be terrified right now. I am. Good. He shifted closer, the movement subtle but deliberate. Fear keeps you alive. But you're smart, Simone. Smart enough to recognize poison in a whiskey glass. Smart enough to risk yourself anyway. That kind of intelligence is rare. Or stupid. No. His hand moved to her face, fingers tilting her chin up so she had to meet his eyes. Not stupid. Brave. And brave women are even rarer than smart ones. Her breath caught. This close, she could see the faint scar above his left eyebrow, the exact shade of brown in his irises, the way his pupils dilated slightly as he looked at her. Who tried to kill you? She whispered. Does it matter? It does if they come back, if they realize I warned you. Jae-sung's expression darkened. They won't touch you. You can't know that. I can. His thumb brushed across her cheekbone, the touch feather-light but possessive. Because anyone who tries will answer to me. And trust me, Simone, that's not a conversation they want to have. The car slowed, pulling up in front of her building. The streetlight was broken again, leaving the entrance in shadow. Trash littered the sidewalk. A group of teenagers huddled near the corner, passing something between them. Jae-sung stared at the building with open displeasure. You live here? It's what I can afford. Defensive anger crept into her voice. She didn't need his judgment, his pity, his wealthy man's horror at how the other half survived. How much is rent? That's none of your... How much, Simone? She crossed her arms. 1,200. For a studio with a leaking ceiling and neighbors who scream at each other at 3 a.m. But it's mine and I pay for it myself, so I'll give you 15,000. He said it like he was ordering coffee. Casual. Effortless. Simone blinked. What? $15,000? Your tip for tonight? That's insane. You saved my life. That's worth considerably more than 15,000, but I'm trying not to overwhelm you. His hand was still on her face, his touch warm against her skin. Take the money, move somewhere safer, somewhere I don't have to worry about you getting hurt. You don't have to worry about me at all. She pulled back, breaking contact. I'm not your responsibility. Yes, you are. The absolute certainty in his voice sent shivers down her spine. The moment you handed me that napkin, you became mine. My debt. My responsibility. Mine. The possessiveness should terrify her. Instead, something warm and dangerous unfurled in her chest. I don't want your money, she lied. She needed it desperately. $15,000 would change everything, pay off her loans, get her back into nursing school, move her somewhere that didn't smell like mildew and broken dreams, but accepting it felt like accepting ownership, like confirming his claim that she belonged to him now. Jae-sung studied her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. Heavy stock, embossed lettering, a phone number and nothing else. Take this, he said, pressing it into her palm. When you change your mind about the money, and you will, Call me. Day or night. I'll answer. I won't change my mind. We'll see. He leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. Sleep well, Simone Carter, and lock your door. All 3 locks. She didn't ask how he knew she had 3 locks. Men like him knew everything. The driver opened her door. Cold air rushed in, breaking the heated intimacy of the car's interior. Simone stepped out onto the sidewalk, the business card burning in her hand. "Simone!" Jae-sung called before she could close the door. She turned back. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for my life." Then the door closed, the Mercedes pulled away, and she was alone on the dark street with a stranger's business card, and the certainty that Lee Jae-sung had just upended her entire world. Simone didn't call. For 5 days, the business card sat on her nightstand, white and pristine against the water-stained wood. She ignored it while getting dressed for work, ignored it while counting her tips each night, ignored it while her landlord slipped an eviction notice under her door because she was 3 weeks late on rent. She could manage, she always had, but on the 6th day, Vincent fired her. "Budget cuts," he said, not meeting her eyes. Nothing personal. It was absolutely personal. She'd interfered with his plan to kill Lee Jae-sung, and now she was paying the price. The severance check was laughable. 2 weeks' pay that wouldn't even cover this month's rent. Simone stood in her studio apartment, staring at the eviction notice, the pathetic severance check and the pristine business card. Pride or survival? She picked up her phone. The call connected on the first ring. "Simone." His voice was warm, pleased, like he'd been waiting for this exact moment. "I need help," she said, hating how small her voice sounded. "Address? You already know it. I'll be there in 15 minutes. He paused. "Pack a bag." "What?" "No, I just need—" "Pack. A. Bag." Each word was clipped, commanding. "You're not staying there another night." He hung up before she could argue. 14 minutes later, the black Mercedes pulled up outside. Jae-sung didn't wait for her to come down. He came up, taking the stairs 2 at a time despite the sketchy stairwell and broken elevator. His knock was firm, authoritative. When Simone opened the door, his expression went from concerned to furious in the space of a heartbeat. "This is where you live?" He stepped inside without invitation, his tall frame making the tiny studio feel even smaller. His gaze swept the space, the leaking ceiling, the mold in the corner, the single window with bars on the outside. "Jesus Christ, Simone. It's not that bad. It's a fucking death trap." He turned to her, and the anger in his eyes made her step back. "How long has that ceiling been leaking?" 2 months. "And the landlord doesn't care." Jae-sung's jaw clenched. "Pack your things, all of them. I told you I just need—" "You need somewhere safe to live." He moved closer, his presence overwhelming in the small space. "You need to not sleep somewhere with toxic mold and structural damage. You need someone to actually give a damn whether you live or die. And that someone is you." She crossed her arms, defensive. "You don't even know me. I know you're too stubborn to ask for help until you're drowning. I know you saved my life. I know you deserve better than this." His hand came up, fingers brushing her cheek in that now familiar gesture. "And I know I'm not letting you stay here another night. Where am I supposed to go?" "With me." Simone's breath caught. "I can't." "You can." His thumb traced her jawline, the touch gentle despite the steel in his voice. "I have a penthouse in Lincoln Park. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. Security that actually works. You'll have your own space, your own privacy. No expectations beyond staying alive. Why would you do this? Because you're mine to protect." That same possessive certainty from their first meeting. "Because I pay my debts. Because—" He hesitated, something vulnerable flickering in his expression. "Because I want to." The honesty in those last words broke through her defenses. "Okay," she whispered. Jae-sung's expression softened. "Okay? Okay." She turned toward her tiny closet. "Give me 20 minutes to pack." It took 30. Everything she owned fit into 2 duffel bags and a backpack, a depressing commentary on her life. Jae-sung carried the heavier bags without being asked, his driver handling the rest. The Mercedes drove north through Chicago, leaving behind the broken streetlights and boarded windows of South Side. The neighborhoods changed, improved, gentrified. By the time they reached Lincoln Park, Simone felt like she'd entered a different city entirely. The building was all glass and steel, the kind of place she'd walk past without ever imagining she might enter. The doorman greeted Jae-sung by name. The elevator required a key card. The hallway on the top floor was silent, expensive, intimidating. His penthouse took up the entire floor. Simone stood in the entrance, overwhelmed. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, modern furniture in black and grey, art on the walls that probably cost more than she'd make in a lifetime. Everything was clean, sleek, perfect. "Your room is this way." Jae-sung led her down a hallway, past a kitchen that looked like it belonged in a magazine, to a bedroom that was bigger than her entire studio apartment. King-sized bed, attached bathroom, a window with an actual view. "This is too much," she said. "It's the smallest bedroom." He set her bags down near the closet. "But if you prefer one of the others—" "No, this is—" Emotion clogged her throat. "This is perfect." Jae-sung moved closer, his hand finding her face again in that gesture that was becoming familiar, almost comfortable. "You're safe here," he said quietly. "I promise you that. No one will hurt you. No one will touch you. You have my word." Simone looked up at him, this dangerous, complicated man who'd somehow decided she was worth protecting, and made a choice that would change everything. She kissed him. It was impulsive, reckless, probably stupid, but his lips were soft against hers, and when his arm wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer, she felt safer than she had in years. The kiss deepened. His other hand tangled in her hair, careful of her natural coils. She gripped his shirt, feeling the hard muscle beneath the expensive fabric, the rapid beat of his heart that matched her own. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jae-sung rested his forehead against hers. "That was," he started. "A bad idea?" she finished. "Perfect." His lips curved into a real smile, the first she'd seen from him. "But we should talk about this, about what this means." "It means I'm tired of being alone," Simone said honestly. "It means you make me feel safe in a way I never have before. It means—" A sharp knock on the penthouse door interrupted her. Jae-sung's expression immediately shifted, the softness vanishing behind cold calculation. "Stay here," he commanded, his voice brooking no argument. He disappeared down the hallway. Simone heard muffled voices, Jae-sung's and another man's, both speaking rapid Korean. The tone was urgent, angry. Then a gunshot cracked through the penthouse. Simone's body moved on instinct. She grabbed the lamp from the nightstand, the only weapon available, and pressed herself against the wall beside the bedroom door. Her heart thundered. Her hands shook. But she'd grown up in Southside Chicago. She knew the sound of gunfire, knew how to survive. More voices. A struggle. Something heavy hitting the floor. Then silence. "Simone," Jae-sung's voice, calm despite what had just happened. "It's safe. Come out." She edged down the hallway, lamp still clutched in white-knuckled hands. The living room had transformed into a crime scene. Two men lay unconscious on the floor, Korean dressed in dark clothing, weapons visible at their waists. Jae-sung stood over them, gun in hand, his white shirt splattered with blood. His driver stood near the door, similarly armed, his expression grim. But Jae-sung himself appeared unharmed. "Whose blood?" Simone asked, her voice surprisingly steady. "His." Jae-sung gestured to one of the unconscious men. "He got a shot off. Hit the wall." She followed his gaze. Sure enough, a bullet hole marred the previously pristine plaster. "What's happening?" "A message." Jae-sung set his gun down on the coffee table, his movements deliberate. "From the people who tried to poison me. They're unhappy I'm still breathing. Will they come back? Probably." He crossed to her, taking the lamp gently from her hands and setting it aside. "But they won't get past my security again. Jin-ho here," he nodded to his driver, "is increasing our protocols." Simone looked at the unconscious men, at the blood on the floor, at the casual way Jae-sung discussed attempted murder like it was an inconvenient business meeting. This was his life. Violence, danger, death lurking in the shadows. And she'd just walked into the middle of it. "I should go," she said. "No." His hand caught hers, firm but not cruel. "You're safer here than anywhere else. Those men knew where you live. And now they'll tell their employer what happens when you send assassins to my home." His thumb stroked across her knuckles. "You're not leaving, Simone. Not when there are people out there who might use you to get to me." Her stomach dropped. "Use me how? You warned me. You interfered with their plan. They know your face from the lounge." His expression hardened. "They'll want to tie up loose ends, which means you're a target now, whether you stay with me or not." Fear clawed up her throat. "So my choices are stay here and get caught in your war, or leave and get hunted down anyway?" "Yes." No apology, no false comfort, just brutal honesty. Simone pulled her hand free, pacing away from him. The pristine penthouse suddenly felt like a cage. Beautiful, luxurious, but a cage nonetheless. "This is insane," she whispered. "I know." He followed her to the windows, his reflection appearing beside hers in the glass. "I'm sorry. If I could undo it, If I could make you safe without keeping you here, I would, but I can't. So you're staying where I can protect you." She turned to face him. "And what do you get out of this, really? You could just put me in a hotel with security. You could pay someone else to guard me. Why do you actually want me here?" Jae-sung was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes searching hers. "Because when I'm with you, I remember what it feels like to be human," he said finally. "Because you looked at me, a criminal, a killer, and decided I was worth saving anyway. Because for the first time in 10 years, I care whether someone lives or dies." The confession hung between them, raw and honest. "I don't know how to be what you need," Simone said. "I don't need anything." His hand came up, cupping her face. "I just want you safe. Everything else is negotiable. Even the kiss?" His lips curved. "Especially the kiss. That was—" He paused, his expression softening. "That was the first time in years someone touched me because they wanted to, not because they were afraid or trying to manipulate me. So no, Simone, that's not negotiable. That's something I'm going to think about every minute until you decide to do it again." Heat flooded through her. "Confident, aren't you? Hopeful." He leaned closer, his breath warm against her lips. "Tell me you didn't feel it too. Tell me that kiss was just gratitude or impulse and I'll back off. I'll give you space, privacy, whatever you need." She should lie, should protect herself, should maintain distance from this dangerous, complicated man who'd already upended her entire life. Instead, she closed the gap and kissed him again. This time there was no hesitation. His arms wrapped around her, pulling her flush against his body. She tasted urgency on his lips, need in the way his hands gripped her waist. Her fingers found the buttons of his blood-stained shirt, working them open, needing to feel skin. The tiger tattoo continued down his chest. Bold, beautiful, fierce. "Simone," he breathed against her mouth. "We should stop." "Why?" "Because if we don't, I won't be able to." His forehead pressed against hers. "And you deserve better than me making decisions for you because I can't control myself." She pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. "What if I want you to lose control?" His restraint visibly cracked. "Are you sure?" "No." Honest. Raw. "But I'm doing it anyway." That was all the permission he needed. Jae-sung lifted her easily, his strength evident despite his lean build. Her legs wrapped around his waist as he carried her down the hallway, past the crime scene in the living room, to his bedroom instead of hers. His room was darker, more masculine, dominated by a massive bed and more floor-to-ceiling windows showing the Chicago skyline. He set her down gently, his hands immediately finding the hem of her shirt. "Last chance," he murmured. "Tell me to stop." Simone answered by pulling his ruined shirt off completely. What happened next was a blur of sensation. His mouth on her neck, her hands exploring the planes of his chest, clothing disappearing piece by piece. The tiger tattoo continued down his torso, she discovered, ending just above his hip in a final flourish of ink. When they finally came together, it felt like something fundamental shifted in the universe, like two broken pieces finding a way to fit, like salvation and damnation wrapped into one perfect, terrible moment. Afterward, they lay tangled in his sheets, the city lights painting patterns across their skin. Jae-sung's fingers traced lazy circles on her shoulder, his breathing slowly returning to normal. "I have to tell you something," he said quietly. Simone tensed. "What?" "The men who tried to kill me. They work for my brother." She pushed up on her elbow, staring at him. "Your brother wants you dead?" "My half-brother. Lee Dong-hyun." Jae-sung's expression was unreadable. "Our father built an empire in Chicago. Import, charge, export, real estate, legitimate businesses with illegal foundations. When he died 5 years ago, he left everything to me. Dong-hyun got nothing. Why? Because I'm loyal. Because I never questioned our father's methods. Because—" he hesitated. "Because Dong-hyun fell in love with an American woman and chose her over the family business. Our father never forgave him." Simone processed this. "So your brother wants revenge. He wants what he believes is his birthright." Jae-sung's hand tightened on her shoulder. "And he'll destroy anyone in his way, including you, now that you're here with me. You should have told me this before. Would you have come if I had?" "No." "Exactly." He pulled her back down against his chest. "I'm selfish, Simone. I wanted you here. Safe. With me. I wanted—" He stopped, the confession dying on his lips. "Wanted what?" she pressed. "To not be alone anymore," he admitted quietly. "To have someone in my life who isn't afraid of me or trying to use me. To feel like you're human," she finished, echoing his earlier words. "Yes." Simone closed her eyes, breathing in his scent, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath her cheek. This was insane, dangerous, probably the worst decision she'd ever made. But lying here in his arms, she felt more alive than she had in years. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now?" His fingers threaded through her coils, gentle and careful. "Now I eliminate the threat. Now I make sure my brother understands what happens when he comes after what's mine. Now I keep you alive, no matter what it costs." The possessiveness should frighten her. Instead, it felt like the only solid ground in a world that had suddenly become unstable. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay?" He sounded surprised. "Okay." She pressed a kiss to his chest, right over his heart. "I'm staying." "I'm trusting you, I'm—" A phone buzzed on the nightstand, interrupting her. Jae-sung reached for it, his expression darkening as he read the screen. "What is it?" Simone asked. He showed her the message. "Enjoy her while you can, little brother. She won't last long." The next 3 days existed in a strange limbo. Jae-sung disappeared for hours at a time, leaving Jin-ho and 2 other guards to watch over Simone. She wasn't a prisoner, not exactly, but leaving the penthouse wasn't an option. Not with Dong-hyun's threat hanging over them like a guillotine. She filled the time exploring the penthouse, cooking in the state-of-the-art kitchen, staring out at the city she could no longer safely walk through. Sometimes she caught herself thinking about her old studio apartment, the leaking ceiling and broken elevator, and felt a strange nostalgia for problems that were at least comprehensible. On the 4th day, Jae-sung returned different. Simone heard him enter around 3 a.m., his footsteps heavy in the hallway. She'd been lying awake in his bed, her bed now, really, since she'd spent every night there since their first time together, waiting for him. When he appeared in the doorway, exhaustion lined his face. His white shirt was rumpled, tie loosened, dark circles under his eyes making him look older than his 31 years. "You're awake," he said. "You're late." "I'm sorry." He crossed to the bed, sinking down on the edge like his legs couldn't hold him anymore. "It's been a long day." Simone sat up, reaching for him. Her fingers found the knots in his shoulders, working at the tension. "What happened?" "I met with Dong-hyun." Her hands stilled. "You did what?" "I met with him. Neutral territory. Witnesses from the other families." Jae-sung's head dropped forward as she resumed the massage. "I offered him a deal. Half the business, equal partnership, peace between us." "What did he say?" "He said he wants it all. Said you're a distraction I can't afford. Said—" his voice roughened. "Said he'll burn everything to the ground before he accepts scraps from our father's favorite son." Simone moved around to face him, her hands cupping his jaw. "I'm sorry." "Don't be." His eyes met hers, dark and fierce. He made his choice. Now, I make mine. Which is war. The single word was cold, final. I eliminate his operations. I dismantle his alliances. I take everything he's built and destroy it. And when he has nothing left, when he's desperate and broken, I offer him one chance to surrender. And if he doesn't? Jae-sung's expression answered for him. Simone's breath caught. "You'd kill your own brother?" "I'd kill anyone who threatens you." His hands came up, tangling in her hair. "I know that makes me a monster. I know you should run from me, be terrified of me. But I can't pretend anymore, Simone. I can't pretend I'm not completely obsessed with you, that I don't think about you every second I'm away, that I wouldn't burn the whole city down to keep you safe." The confession should terrify her. Instead, something warm and fierce bloomed in her chest. "I'm not running," she said. "You should." "I know." She leaned forward, pressing her forehead to his. "But I'm not. Because despite everything, the danger, the violence, the absolute insanity of this situation, I've never felt more alive than I do with you." "Simone, let me finish." She pulled back, meeting his eyes. "I grew up in South Side Chicago. I watched my mother work 3 jobs and still die from lack of health care. I watched my father drink himself to death. I've lived my whole life just surviving, just getting by, just waiting for the next disaster. And then you happened. I brought disaster. You brought possibility." Her fingers traced the edge of his tiger tattoo. "You made me feel like I matter, like I'm worth protecting, like I'm more than just another poor black girl trying not to drown." "You are worth protecting." His voice was fierce. "You're worth everything. Then let me help you." She gripped his shirt. "Let me be part of this fight instead of just someone you're hiding away." "Absolutely not." "Jae-sung." "No." He stood, pacing away from her. "You don't understand what you're asking. This isn't some romantic adventure. People will die, probably a lot of people, and I won't risk you being one of them. So I just sit here, wait for you to come home each night and hope you're not bleeding?" "Yes." He turned back to her, his expression set. That's exactly what you do, because the alternative is you in the crossfire, and I can't—" His voice broke. "I can't lose you, Simone. I can't." She'd never heard him vulnerable before. Dangerous, yes, possessive, absolutely. But this raw fear in his voice, this desperate need, it broke through every defense she had left. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll stay safe. I promise." Relief flooded his expression. He crossed back to her, pulling her into his arms so tightly she could barely breathe. "Thank you," he breathed against her hair. "Thank you." They stayed like that for a long time, wrapped in each other, the city lights painting them in gold and shadow. Finally, Jae-sung pulled back just enough to kiss her. Slow, deep, devastating. "I need to tell you something else," he said when they broke apart. Simone tensed. "What now?" "I love you." The words hung in the air, impossible and perfect. "You barely know me," she managed. "I know you saved my life when you had nothing to gain from it. I know you kissed me when you should have been running away. I know you're brave and stubborn, and so beautiful it physically hurts to look at you sometimes." His hands framed her face. "I know that before you I was just going through the motions, and now I'm actually living. So yes, Simone Carter, I love you, and I'm terrified of it, and it's probably too soon, and you don't have to say it back, but I needed you to know." Tears burned her eyes. "You're insane. Probably. This is the worst timing possible. Definitely. I'm falling in love with you too," she admitted. "And it's terrifying." His smile could have lit up the entire city. Good. Then he was kissing her again, and she was pulling him down onto the bed, and for a few precious hours they forgot about wars and brothers and danger lurking in the shadows. 2 days later, everything exploded. Simone was alone in the penthouse. Jin Ho had stepped out to get food when the power cut out. Emergency lights kicked in immediately, bathing everything in eerie red. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Come to the roof alone, or everyone in this building dies. You have 5 minutes." Her hands shook as she called Jae-sung. It went straight to voicemail. She tried Jin Ho. Same thing, 4 minutes. She grabbed a kitchen knife, stupid, probably useless, but better than nothing, and headed for the stairs. The roof access was supposed to be locked, but the door stood open. Wind whipped her hair as she emerged into the night air. Chicago sprawled below, beautiful and indifferent. Dong-hyun stood near the edge, his resemblance to Jae-sung striking and disturbing. Same height, similar build, but where Jae-sung carried controlled danger, Dong-hyun radiated chaos. "Simone Carter," he said, his English perfect. "The woman who ruined everything." "I didn't ruin anything. You made my brother weak." He moved closer. "Before you he was focused, ruthless. Now he's distracted, sloppy, willing to compromise. All because of you. He offered you partnership, peace. I don't want his scraps." The shout echoed across the roof. "I want what should have been mine from the start, and you're going to help me get it. By killing me? By making him choose." Dong-hyun smiled, cold and terrible. "You or the business. His little obsession or everything our father built. Let's see what matters more." Simone's grip tightened on the knife. "He won't choose. He will, because I'm going to—" A gunshot cracked through the air. Dong-hyun staggered, blood blooming on his shoulder. Behind him, Jae-sung emerged from the stairwell, gun raised, his expression absolutely murderous. "Get away from her," he said, each word precise and deadly. Dong-hyun laughed, the sound edged with pain. "There he is. There's the monster our father raised. Tell me, little brother, would you really kill me over some woman?" "Yes." No hesitation. No doubt. "Then do it." Dong-hyun spread his arms. "Pull the trigger. End this." Jae-sung's gun didn't waver, but he didn't shoot. "I didn't think so." Dong-hyun's smile widened. "You're weak. Just like—" Simone moved without thinking. The knife left her hand, spinning through the air. It didn't hit Dong-hyun. She'd aimed for his leg, hoping to stop him from whatever he was about to do, but it distracted him long enough for Jae-sung to close the distance and slam him against the roof's edge. "You don't touch her," Jae-sung snarled. "You don't threaten her. You don't even think about her. Understood?" "Or what?" Dong-hyun wheezed. "You'll finally grow a spine and kill me." "No." Jae-sung's expression shifted, becoming cold and calculated. "I'll give you exactly what you wanted. The business, all of it. Every operation, every asset, every territory. It's yours." Simone's breath caught. "Jae-sung, no, on one condition," he continued, ignoring her. "You leave Chicago, tonight, and you never come back. You never contact me, never threaten anyone I care about, never set foot in this city again." Dong-hyun stared at him. "You're serious? Completely? You'd give up everything for her?" "Without hesitation." Silence stretched between them, broken only by the wind and the distant sounds of the city below. Finally, Dong-hyun laughed. A broken, defeated sound. You really do love her. Yes. Then you're even more of a fool than I thought. He pushed away from Jae-sung, stumbling slightly. Fine. Take your empire. Keep your woman. I'm done with this family anyway. He walked toward the stairs, pausing beside Simone. He'll destroy himself for you, Dong-hyun said quietly. Give up everything. Become nothing. And when you get bored or scared or realize what a monster he really is, it'll kill him. So I hope you're worth it. Then he was gone, disappearing down the stairs, leaving Simone and Jae-sung alone on the roof. For a long moment, neither moved. Then Simone threw herself at him, her arms wrapping around his neck, tears streaming down her face. You idiot, she sobbed. You complete idiot. His arms crushed her against him. I meant what I said. You or the business. It was never a choice. But everything you built can be rebuilt. He pulled back, his hands framing her face. You can't. You're irreplaceable, Simone. And I'd give up 1,000 empires if it meant keeping you safe. She kissed him then, desperate and grateful, and so in love it felt like her heart might burst. When they finally broke apart, Jae-sung rested his forehead against hers. We should probably leave Chicago, he said. Start over somewhere new. Where? Anywhere you want, as long as I'm with you. Simone thought about her old life, the studio apartment, the dead-end waitressing job, the constant struggle just to survive. Then she thought about this impossible, dangerous, beautiful man who'd chosen her over everything. Seattle, she decided. I've always wanted to see Seattle. His smile was breathtaking. Seattle it is. 6 months later, Simone stood in the kitchen of their Seattle townhouse, morning sunlight streaming through the windows as she prepared coffee. The view overlooked Elliott Bay, boats dotting the water.